All right, today I'm here with the godfather of Ontario-based pro wrestling, Tyson Dux. He's wrestled for a number of independent promotions, along with the WWE and even Ring of Honor, which is a growing company. I have a few questions for Mr. Dux. The first question is, how would you describe your time in Neo Spirit Pro Wrestling, which is a company of the past? Yeah, but I know about Neo
Wow,
Spirit.
that's a blast from the past. That's a
Yeah.
long time ago. Yeah, you know what? When it comes to pro wrestling, if you're new to pro wrestling,
Uh,
there's a lot of history that goes along with it, and it's kind of neat that you bring that up because that
yeah.
company's been gone for many years. But it was the start of a bunch of young, very hungry, talented young men and a
Yeah.
few women that and some old guys
Yeah.
that just wanted to perform the best shows in that Niagara region.
Right.
And man, oh man, I tell you, we were there once a month, and
Yeah.
we killed each other. We killed
Yeah.
each other for $70,
Yeah.
$60, $50.
Wow.
Never made any money, but
Right.
it was a proving ground. It was a
Yeah.
proving ground. Yeah, man, it
It
was
would be
great.
cool to see some of that footage be re-released in the future. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be really cool because there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that was beyond its time. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work involved with a lot of great talent that like were way above their years in doing crazy stuff.
Uh-huh.
One of the highlights was the craziest thing I've ever seen was Showtime Eric Young giving Danger Boy Derek Wild a
Yeah.
pile driver off the top of a ladder
Yeah.
through a table on the floor. And I don't understand how those two dudes aren't dead, but
Yeah.
it
Terrible.
was
Wow.
unreal.
The spots that
Unreal.
he used to pull off were intense, insane.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit. I think that's the problem, though. We were a little too eager, and there was no older talent there. It was all just
Yeah.
young talent. And the problem with being so young and having no veteran direction,
Uh,
you run the risk of hurting yourself really bad and doing some crazy things that make no sense. But looking back on it, it's very much a fond memory of mine and all the guys that I worked with. It was a hell of a ride down there.
yeah. Cool. Cool. Can you tell me about your initial training, how you got started in the business?
Yeah, I started at 18 years old. I left home. I'm from New Brunswick originally,
Oh, wow.
and I left home. Yeah, I left home from New Brunswick out east, and I came here to Ontario to train in Cambridge, Ontario. I was
Uh,
going to go to Stampede. I was going to go all the way out west
yeah.
and train under Bruce Hart.
Okay.
But then I heard about this school on the internet, which was new to me. It
Yeah.
was a new thing, and I saw that there was the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling, and so I went there, and that was Smith Hart's name. So the oldest
Yeah.
boy of the Harts
Yeah. I met him.
was associated. He wasn't there, but he was associated with it, and
Okay.
that's where I got my learning. Was in
Oh,
Cambridge, Ontario.
yeah. Did you learn how to
Yep.
bump and stuff like that there, or your
What's
initial?
that?
Did you take your initial bumps there?
I sure did. I sure
Yeah.
did. I did indeed. I guess getting ready for pro wrestling training. I used to do martial arts and stuff, and I
Yeah.
tried to do stuff on my own, but nothing can compare to bumping for the first time in an actual
Yeah.
ring that's meant to hurt you. Like those rings
Yeah.
back then weren't meant to be bouncy and keep you safe. They're
Right.
meant to get rid of you and just keep your money and get going. But
Uh,
yeah, that's where I laid my first sweat and blood and tears was in those rings there in Cambridge. Yes.
yeah. Speaking about blood, sweat, and tears, Ralph Fuego's Squared Circle closed a few years ago. I guess it's been about 4 years or 5 years or something. Were you
Oh,
associated with the Squared Circle at any point? Because I know
very
you
much
worked with
so.
Nash. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, very much so. I like me and Rob were always been close, been tight.
Right.
He came down a few times to work with me when I was training in Cambridge. We had matches
Cool.
together on the independent circuit when I first started, and he kind of cut my teeth on a lot of shows and was one of those first guys that I've ever that had experience that I got to step in the ring with.
Oh, wow.
And he always took care of me. He's a great guy. And
Yeah.
then he he of course had a school that was squared circle training,
Yeah.
and he had squared circle shows. And I did some seminars at the squared circle training, and I also did numerous shows and to help them out in their products and stuff like that. Just good times, like fun, easy shows, like very lucha driven. I'm not lucha, but they worked around me and my style. Yeah.
Nice. What was the first promotion that you worked for? Was that Neo Spirit or?
First ever promotion was with the school that I went to. So the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling had a company that it was attached to called International Championship Wrestling. So they almost had, back in the day, this is a long time ago, but they almost had a TSN deal where they were going to be a Canadian product. They were going to be a Canadian driven pro wrestling show on TSN. But then
that would have been huge.
Yeah, it would have been something, especially for a young guy like me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't meant to be because the promoter / owner of the school was very greedy and tried to ask for way more money than it was worth getting off the ground. So it never came to be. But man, it would have been something to see.
Cool. Would you like to tour more overseas or?
Yeah, you know what? Most of my stuff is right now is more driven towards journeyman style wrestling. So if people know it, like a journeyman is a guy that just is good at his craft and he just travels the world. I'm not looking to be super famous with this. You know what I mean? It's just been a part of my life for 24 years, almost 25 years.
That's amazing.
So I don't sweat the things like that. I don't worry about fame or notoriety or having action figures or video games and all that stuff. I've just always been a guy that's likes will travel the world, go places, but never see any place, if that makes sense. So just find the inside of arenas and gyms, and I just all my job is to bring home money to my family, and that's at the end of the day, that's all I do.
Nice. I think me and a lot of pro wrestling fans would love to see you in companies like Noah or New Japan or All Japan on some kind of tour, and then you come back home to your family. That would be so cool, just to see how you match up against those other wrestlers.
Yeah, well, I did work for All Japan. I have done a tour with All Japan. That was fun. I worked with Ultimo Dragon a bunch out of the All Japan. That was fun. And but yes, like any of these companies like Noah and stuff like that would be just like little check marks, right? Yeah, worked here, because I have a pretty extensive list. The only places I really haven't worked is WCW, and I was close to having a run at WCW before they closed, and ECW. I didn't get the chance to work there either. That's it. Those were the only two.
Wow. How was your time in WWE? Did they contact you, or how did that occur?
Usually what happens is you're an independent, so it's all about marketing yourself. So I just constantly sent in tapes, and eventually got a call back, and I would call as well. Eventually they picked up the phone and said, hey, we have an opening for you to have a little tryout, come in and see what you got. And then it just spurred into multiple runs with them for about 2 years until I was hurt. And then of course I went back and I did the PC tryout thing, and I've always been kind of in connection, like talking with them and stuff. I got to coach there. I got to be a part of the Cruiserweight Classic. I've done quite an extensive amount of work with them without actually signing any kind of agreement.
That's cool.
No.
Yeah, I remember being at a live show, and I guess I was a teenager then, maybe about 13 years old, and you were working as an opener before the show in a dark match with your skill gimmick, and you had that dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all about how you market yourself, and sometimes being a smaller guy, and like we're talking when you're young, when we're watching WWE back then, they were all giants. They're all giant men.
That's true.
So you needed a hook, and that was my hook, is that goofy little dance, and it got me a lot of work back then. A lot of work.
There's some workers that are a lot smaller, like Leo Rush is only 140 pounds. Aaliyah is only 114 pounds.
It's the new day and age. It is definitely a new day and age. It's very exclusive. It's not, or what is the word? I don't know. Everybody is allowed. Everybody is allowed in the sport of professional wrestling. Doesn't matter your stature, your size, your sexual orientation, whatever it is. It's very much an open market. But like I started in the 90s, and in the 90s, it was just cowboys. It was just big old brutes that would beat you up, and bikers and cowboys. Yeah.
Can you tell me more about your combat sports training?
Yeah, mostly it was, I used to do martial arts as a kid. I grew up doing Japanese karate. I had a person that trained me privately with that. He was like a friend of a friend through church back in the day. And then he was a good friend of mine. Later on, went on to amateur wrestle a bit, and I love amateur wrestling. Amateur wrestling is one of those. I think everybody that wants to get in this business should be doing that. And I've done I've done boxing, done a lot of exhibition bouts, and one amateur fight through amateur boxing and stuff like that. I just always I love to train. I love to work out. I love testing my abilities and being uncomfortable. Like these are all areas where you have to get used to being very, very uncomfortable very, very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it on Twitter. Like the growth that I've seen on you, it's outstanding. Like from start to the point you're at now, there's just been progression. It's constant, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's what it's about. Is like how you can't just stay still. You can't, Rolling Stone gathers no moss, they say. So it's good to be a guy that's wants to improve and wants to continue and wants to evolve. If you don't evolve, you're going to be stuck, right? So just all about it's basically this in life is that you got to keep moving forward. And with your circumstances or whatever it may be, you have to work. It's all about work ethic and just getting out there and doing it.
That brings me to my next question. How is your pro wrestling school doing?
We are finally shut down. We have shut down, actually. Yeah. We tried our best. Me and my wife had finally had to close the doors on it. COVID has, and we were taking a lot of pride in the fact that we had stayed open from March of last year, almost up, and we actually just closed the doors as of March 2nd. We just cannot. We don't know when. We don't know when things are going to open up. We don't know how. We don't know the trajectory of till you get to a combat sport type.
Thing. They keep changing the dates and the rules.
And then we paid rent every month for over a year. On nothing, not making any kind of income at all. So we really did try. We didn't just throw our hands up right off the start. We really gave it our best. But unfortunately, for the present time, we've had to close the doors, and it's time to regroup and refocus.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
That's all right. That's life. Life throws you some things, throws you some rocks. You just got to dodge them, keep on moving.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite books or movies off the topic of pro wrestling?
Well, my son got me a book for Christmas, so I have a hard time reading as I get older and stuff like that. I get a lot of it takes a lot of concentration for me to read, but I'm starting on a book called The Hooker. It's the Lou Thesz book. It's all about Lou Thesz and his journey. Yeah, so I'm still working on that. I'm only on chapter 2. I'm halfway through chapter 2, but that's the one that I've like already. I'm blown away by the cool stories and the old terminology and how the evolution of wrestling and where it comes from and stuff. Because Lou knew how it was, and was a studier of some of the greatest pro wrestlers in all of Ed Strangler Lewis and stuff like that. He got his teaching from them. So, and those guys are legitimately put professional wrestling on the map. So it's great. It's a great read so far. I know I'm only 2 chapters in. That's silly to say, but it's a great read. But as for movies, I'm not when it comes to wrestling, I don't really Ready to Rumble's fun. It's just fun, but there's nothing really in the ways of wrestling content movies that I really dig.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've been watching the old IWE DVD recently.
Okay.
They had a working agreement with AWA, so they kind of had the same workers from the 70s.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They're pretty rough, but at the same time, they had some meat on them, so they could hit each other at the meaty places and that sort of thing, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's different. It's definitely a different day and age back then. Definitely is. Yeah. Those guys never hurt each other, but they look like they did.
Yeah.
You know, whereas today nobody looks like they're hurting each other and they're killing each other. Everybody's injured. So
constantly.
It's funny. Yeah, it's a funny time.
Yeah. Wrestlers are constantly going to the hospital or out of the hospital, and then you have got rappers like what's his name, Soldier Boy, calling it fake and stuff like that. But I find even a lot of fans, they'll watch it and they'll call it fake without going to pro wrestling school or having insider knowledge. It just needs you to classify something as phony without having any actual experience, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's and that's the thing. It's always going to have that stigma, and it has been branded more entertainment-esque than anything. It's just the way life goes, right? And this is obviously where the business has taken us, is with social media being such a big thing, and being able to see any wrestling at the drop of a hat, and then a lot of people getting into wrestling that maybe shouldn't have gotten into wrestling, or at least should have worked a little harder at it and stuff like that. You're going to see like things that aren't as strong. So then your perception won't be the same for it. Like my perception as a young man was, I think it's fake, but I'm not. Like when I went to wrestling school, I knew that I was going to have to bite down and like be as gritty and tough as possible.
Yeah.
Because I knew that this was not the sport of that they were going to treat fakely. Do you know what I mean? Right. You don't train for fake. You train for real. Yeah. And it was tough. It was a tough time.
Yeah, there can be that fear there of the older guys kind of maybe being stiffer, or not bullying, but kind of teaching the younger guys a lot harder using more force, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, because they didn't want people in the business to just spread whatever, like a weakness in the business. So like it was way tougher on all of us. There was like, they're really tough, and like everything they did when they first did it was real. It felt real. Right. And they really got you, really put holds on you and stuff like that. Because if you don't know how to react to those things, how are you supposed to act as though it hurts when the time comes when it doesn't hurt? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those catch-22s. Sometimes you have to be bullied. Sometimes you got to be hurt. Sometimes you got to be forced to be uncomfortable for things to have the level of respect that you need for all that stuff. But we are no longer in that kind of generation. We're in the generation that is, like I said, more accepting and want to make sure that everybody is having a good time. And so business is harder, and that's another reason we decided to just shut the doors for a little bit and regroup, just because I'm not in the market of just putting wrestling students out there just because I need to pay for a building, and in this to put out solid talent. And then when you get to the point where you have to think about overhead instead of quality, that's something that I did not want to do.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of your gimmick, if we call it that, I don't know. Some people might call it no gimmick needed, like somebody like Benoit, for example. But I kind of see it as kind of like hybrid wrestling, or hybrid wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of grappling and striking.
Yeah.
I'm more now, as I get older, it'll be even more so grappling based more than striking based. Yeah. And the gimmick itself is basically, I've taken a serious approach to professional wrestling other than an entertainment approach.
Right.
Um,
That's amazing.
and so, yeah, that's how I train. That's how I train people and stuff like that. And I'm not against anybody that wants to do whatever they want to do. Their perception is their perception, but my perception is, and the way I feel about this business is how I would like to present it. Right. So
Cool.
a lot of guys in our industry get very uptight and bent out of shape over that. But like my perception is mine, yours is yours. I'm not saying that you can't do yours. I'm just saying over here where I am, this is how I believe, and this is how I would like to flow.
Yeah, I think it's great because I don't think we have really any, I don't know if we have any other hybrid wrestling style wrestlers in Ontario or Canada, to be honest. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, I don't think there is any. I don't think, for the most part, no.
Yeah. I have one last question in terms of diet and workout. I don't know if you want to keep that secret or.
No, I you know what, I personal train a lot of people.
Oh, cool.
And I don't really do much of the diet thing. I work simplicity with simplicity. It's on a calorie deficit. So calorie deficit's easy to get, easy to manage. It's easy to look up online and get your body in the best shape as possible. Workouts, I there's nothing better for stress relief and for endorphins and feeling better and getting rid of depression and getting rid of all your ailments. Even when you're injured, I am a firm believer that if I'm hurt, I'm still going to work out. If I'm not going to do the same stuff, but I'm going to keep working out, because that's therapy. That's basically mental and physical therapy is working out. And I'm a huge advocate for working out, and I applaud people that maybe started out in this world not working out, not understanding, and getting outside their comfort zone and going to a gym and working out. I applaud them. I think it's tremendous. If you have crippling depression and you finally make the move to get out and go for walks and do some push-ups and start to build, those are great stories. And that's basically how life should be. You should be out, you should be moving. We're kinetically energy. Our energy is kinetic, and so kinetic energy needs to move, and the more you move, the better. So I'm a 5-day a week. I hit every body part, and I do lots of cardio. I do everything. I do all kinds of different volume training and split training and heavy training and drop sets and supersets and anything you could think of. And but then I'll, me and my wife will go to Burger King on the weekend. That's just the way it is.
I like BK too sometimes. Triple walk.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's lifestyle, more so than it's lifestyle. Instead of just doing something, it has to be a part of your life.
Right. Cool. One last question. How do you want to be remembered as when your time comes to an end in terms of retirement, I guess? Or maybe, I don't know, I kind of see you as a road agent in the future, to be honest.
It's going to be hard to be a road agent at this point at 42, just because with the new generation, they're not going to. If I've never been the Undertaker, if I've never been a Shawn Michaels, if I've never really gotten the chance to be that on an international level, it's going to be hard to be preaching psychology and philosophy to these kids about how to go about their work and their business, right? So the road agent thing would be like barking up a tree. It'd be hard to do. To be remembered in this industry, I always wanted to be the guy that worked hard and been a guy that loved the sport and loved to keep the integrity of this sport. If I can be left with anything, right? That's it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Moody. I really appreciate this, and I hope.
Hey, no trouble, Mark. Thank you.
Hope that we get through COVID-19 and everything's all right.
Yeah. Definitely.
Maybe one day your gym will reopen. Who knows, I guess. But
hey, if it ever does, why don't you come down? You can have a day.
That sounds good. I'll be a
trek,
but thank you so much once again. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.